Hi everyone, we're really excited to be presenting our culminating experience on a framework for place-based experiential learning to inspire sustainability action. My name is Christa Burgess, and I'm a Master of Sustainability Solutions 4+1 student.
And I'm Jacob Ivey, also a master's student in the Sustainability Solutions program. For our culminating experience project, we have partnered with the Hawaii Tropical Bioreserve and Garden, or HTBG, to create a foundation for their place-based experiential learning synthesis initiative, or PEBBLES. They partnered with us to create a replicable approach to place-based experiential learning. And while this is a small piece to the larger PEBBLES initiative, it is an important starting place to bridge the knowledge action gap. Although personal responsibility and engagement in solutions is vitally important in the field of sustainability, changing human attitudes and behaviors is not easy to accomplish. In many cases, there is a recognized gap between knowledge and action that poses significant barriers to achieving solutions. Learning new information about a sustainability challenge is not necessarily enough to instigate behavior change, and knowledge alone does not guarantee that people understand how to effectively implement solutions. Even those who feel motivated to act in more sustainable ways do not always follow through with action, and many are unwilling to change their lifestyles or break their well-established habits. Many experts and organizations have attempted to bridge this knowledge action gap, but unfortunately these campaigns have often failed, and there remains a lack of problem-solving capacity. We need urgent action to help resolve the knowledge action gap and engage more people in sustainability solutions. The overarching theory of change for this project is that place-based experiential learning that is grounded in behavior change theory and sustainability principles leads people to have more sustainable behaviors. In other words, we believe that learning about a place, having an experience with that place, and learning about how to apply this knowledge to daily life can help reconnect people with nature and inspire them to change their behaviors to become more sustainable. This diagram outlines the 4 fields of study that we feel should be combined and targeted in order to successfully generate learning that results in sustainable behavior change. In order to accomplish this, we conducted a literature review on place-based learning, experiential learning, and behavior change theory. As part of our research, we also conducted several informational interviews with experts in environmental education, STEM, and sustainable science to better understand what is needed for designing meaningful educational experiences that inspire action. After developing an initial framework based on these resources, we invited our subject matter experts to virtual workshop meetings. During those meetings, they evaluated the success of the framework in terms of how pragmatic and transferable it is. We utilized PowerPoint and Zoom to present the framework and a case study so that they could provide feedback and recommendations for improvement.
So after conducting research and talking to experts, we put together everything that we learned and created our very own 5-step framework. We ultimately found that there are 5 key components needed for place-based experiential learning that inspire sustainable behavior change, and this diagram shows an overview of those 5 steps of our framework. So the 5 steps include place, knowledge, capacity, experience, and reflection, with the first step of place involving learners forming these personal connections and relationships with a specific location and local community who are facing a sustainability challenge. So this also includes forming relationships and establishing trust with community members, educators, and fellow learners. The step knowledge is where learners gain foundational knowledge on the local values, culture, economy, and social ecological systems of the place. So they receive information from community members and educators, as well as learn through personal exploration, discovery, and play. Capacity refers to learners building the expertise, infrastructure, personal capacity, and relationships at a local level to prepare strategies for solutions. So they learn how to perform actions and how they can participate in equitable and effective sustainability solutions. Experience is where learners actually take action, experiment, and participate in a targeted sustainable behavior. So the learners have a meaningful and concrete experience related to assessing and addressing a sustainability solution in the place. Reflection is a time for learners to rest, practice mindfulness, and engage in contemplative reflection on their emotions, personal connections, and the new knowledge they've gained. So learners will also reflect on the experiences they participated in, the lessons learned, how to align this local solution to the global UN SDGs, and how to progress towards future actions too. So these 5 steps don't necessarily need to happen in this order, and they can be repeated as many times as necessary. So learners might bounce back and forth between the steps, and both place and reflection in particular are going to be revisited very often as learners build their sustainability knowledge and capacity. So learners can also enter this process at different steps depending on their prior knowledge, their personal situation, and their capacity. And there's no set time limit for any of these steps, so it's recognized that certain steps like place might take a lot longer than steps like experience, for example. So learners are ultimately going to cycle through these steps one or more times depending on the educational program or initiative they're participating in, and you can also repeat this whole process either in the same place or then in a new place. So some steps do have a stronger influence on others, and we've drawn arrows to kind of represent those relationships. So arrow 1 shows how place is incredibly important for capacity because capacity building is dependent on the resources available to learners in the place. And additionally, building capacity might change the way that place is impacted by the sustainability challenge. Arrow 2 demonstrates that knowledge is necessary for reflection, and sometimes reflection can enhance and increase a learner's understanding. Arrow 3 indicates that having an experience is dependent on place, and the learner's experience of participating in sustainability solutions might even go on to influence the place itself. And this whole framework is grounded in the social, ecological, technological systems context of the place.
As mentioned in our project approach, we conducted small workshops with our subject matter experts in order to further refine and validate the success of our framework. We were met with overwhelmingly positive responses, and they each had excellent feedback that we have since incorporated into our framework and case study. This word cloud was created to visually represent how subject matter experts reacted to our framework. Larger text means more frequent responses. One way that we preliminarily tested our framework's effectiveness was by exploring a relevant case study through the lens of the 5 steps. Dr. Jesse Sanko's Bycatch Reduction and Sustainable Fisheries program is one example of a highly successful initiative that involves learning from and collaborating with fishers from all over the world to advance marine conservation and sustainability. This program also involves engaging students from Arizona State University in place-based experiential learning during a study abroad course in Baja California, Mexico.
So in the context of our framework, step 1 place refers to Baja California Sur in Mexico, and more specifically, students in the program will visit La Paz, El Pardito Island, and Magdalena Bay, and so they're introduced to the local community and fishers who live in these places, and also to the incredibly beautiful and biodiverse ecosystems surrounding this area. So they engage with the local community members to learn more about bycatch and why it's such a challenge, and also just to form these personal connections with the place. Learners in this program engage a lot with local community members, stakeholders, fishers, and researchers, and as a result, they gain lots of foundational knowledge on the local community's values, perspectives, and social ecological systems, and they especially gain a deeper understanding of bycatch and why it's such a challenge for local stakeholders. The step capacity involves learners gaining the expertise, infrastructure, personal capacity, and relationships in order to prepare for assessing and addressing the sustainability challenge of bycatch. And so this step also involves learning how to modify fishing gear by removing buoys and attaching solar-powered fishing lights to reduce bycatch. Even though a lot of this program is really experiential in nature, the program's central experience involves learners going out on the boats and seeing firsthand what fishing is like. And if they catch sea turtles in the nets, they also get to participate in collecting scientific data for conservation initiatives. Throughout this program, students will engage in mindful reflection on what they learned related to small-scale fisheries, fishing with gill nets, and bycatch reduction strategies. So they'll often write in journals and have discussions about what they were feeling and what they learned, and they'll brainstorm about future actions and how to improve the sustainability solutions in Baja, as well as how to take what they learned back home with them to implement sustainability solutions in their own communities. And so part of that process also involves linking this local solution to the global UN SDGs. And to pull it all together, this slide shows the case study overlaid onto our framework diagram, and it really drives home how this learning cycle can be repeated by the same group of learners as many times as desired, or it can be continued by a new group of college students or other learners from fishing communities around the world. Overall, this program has been very successful as many students who participate end up inspired to learn more and often express a desire to engage in more behaviors that support marine conservation and sustainability. And this case study ultimately validates our 5-step framework and shows how covering the aspects of place, knowledge, capacity, experience, and reflection can be a really powerful way to learn about sustainability and motivate sustainable behavior change.
We learned a lot from this culminating experience, from project management skills to improving our sustainability knowledge. Important project management skills that we honed in on include leadership, management, and problem-solving skills. In addition to these, there was a strong focus on clear communication, frequent engagement with stakeholders, and the importance of a well-defined project scope. We especially stretched our sustainable behavior change knowledge. We feel that we have a much better understanding of real-world sustainability challenges and how to use theory to address those problems. We recommend that this framework be tested more rigorously through case studies and applying it to real educational programs. Additional improvements include comparing the framework to guidelines from various forms of education, such as Indigenous, environmental, and STEM education. Based on plenty of feedback, we suggest storytelling is incorporated more as well. And it is important to distill this framework in an explanatory tool or guidebook. We believe that future students could carry this project forward in many directions based on the recommendations that we have listed here. We are excited to see this framework be utilized, improved, and scaled up to advance the Pebbles initiative.
Lastly, we'd like to thank our project clients, subject matter experts, stakeholders, professors, and the MSES committee members for all of your feedback, support, and encouragement throughout this entire process. We really could not have done this project without you, so thank you.